Hi guys, welcome. Today we're going to be testing Rogue by Quivr. Rogue pH neutral foaming soap. Premium car wash concentrate designed to refine your car cleaning experience. 1 to 4 ounces of Rogue in a foam cannon, depending on desired foam level. Rogue pH neutral foaming soap is pH neutral at dilution. So they say 1 to 4 ounces in a foam cannon. That's a really broad range, first off. If you put 4 ounces of this in, say, an MJJC foam cannon, you're going to get about 1 to 96 as a panel impact ratio, right around 1%. If you put 1 ounce of this in an MTM foam cannon, you're going to get about 450 to 1 dilution. So that's a really broad range. And it makes me wonder how, they say that it's pH neutral at dilution. Well, if you've got one dilution that's 4 times the amount of the other dilution, like how do you make it so they're pH neutral at both, right? 'Cause pH is pH. Well, let's pop the cap. It has a foil thing. It's stuck in the lid, but it has a foil. It smells fruity. It reminds me of something. I'm trying to remember what it is, but I don't know. Certainly not bad. So they say 1 to 4, so they're looking for a 100 to 1-ish dilution or a 1% PIR. The easiest way that I'm going to get to that today. So this is the MJJC Foam Cannon Pro right here. And the Foam Cannon Pro has no metering tip. I'm going to just grab another bottle. We'll grab this bottle here. MJJC uses the same as the Griot's. So they're saying put 4 ounces into a full cannon. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 1 ounce into a quarter full cannon, and I'm going to show you how that foams with the MJJC. And then what we'll do is we'll go to the 1 ounce in a full cannon, and we'll see how that foams in like a Griot's, something that's on the other side of the range, because these are all popular foam cannons that people regularly use. All right, so this is pretty thick. Right there. So we've got our 1 ounce. All right. So for those of you that may not be following me, I've got 1 ounce of Rogue. So they tell you that you can use up to 4 ounces in a full cannon. I put 1 ounce in. Cannon is a quarter full. Can everyone agree that that's the same as putting 4 ounces in a full cannon is 1 ounce in a quarter cannon? So here we are, quarter cannon. And put the top on, and this is the MJJC top. As you can see, it's brass. It says MJJC right there on the side. And we're going to see how this foams, and it's going to be foam crazy. Like, I'll just show you, but it's going to be insane. Check out how thick that is. Like glue. Now, let's try the opposite end. And this time we're going to use 1 ounce in a full cannon. So instead of 1 ounce in a quarter cannon, we're going to do 1 ounce in a full cannon. All right, so here we have 1 ounce in a full cannon. And this time we'll test it here. We can still see the foam from the last test. It isn't gone yet. So we still have super thick foam. I don't see the reason why they would even list that other dilution as needed. Like this seems really solid. 1 ounce in a full cannon, I think, is really all you need. It's a lot of foam. It's a real foam party. All right. Well, dang. So let's try this out. Now, like I said, this is the lower end of the dilutions that they specify, 1 ounce to a full cannon, and still the soap isn't insanely thick. So I see absolutely zero reason why you would need to use 4 ounces. I mean, maybe if you had like really bad water or your foam cannon. I mean, even if your foam cannon was lower quality, that wouldn't change anything. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me why that range exists on the bottle. In terms of performance, it's nice and slick. Obviously the foam is super thick. Smell is great. It's got that orange scent, or whatever it is. It's not orange, but it's fruity. So overall, smells good. I'm guessing it is pH neutral because I don't really see like bugs breaking down and stuff. It's more of a, you know, safety contact wash style soap, like a GSF Armor Shampoo Plus, you know, the middle Detail Co soap. The amount of foaming action is pretty insane. So I'm guessing this is probably marketed, I mean, knowing Josh's background, it's probably marketed towards detailers, mobile detailers. It's kind of where he comes from. So, you know, based on that, I'm assuming that's who they were targeting. And this is like the let's put on a show for our customer style soap, right? Let's make it foam crazy because customers like seeing all the foam. Instagram likes seeing all the foam, right? Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It definitely does. It's effective. I honestly kind of wish the scent was stronger. Scents are one of those things that are subjective, you know. If you have a strong scent that you don't love, then you might hate a product because of it. But if the scent is good and it's not strong, you might wish it had a little bit more. I think GSF is really the kind of the gold standard for that. But GSF at this dilution wouldn't foam. You would need almost triple the soap from GSF to get this kind of foaming action. It definitely has that feeling of safety and slickness. You've got that floaty mitt feel, even at this, you know, the least amount of product dilution. All right, so to dry today, I'm going to use this. This is a brand new rag that I just picked up. This is from the Rag Company. We might as well call it the Mini Goat. It's pretty much a mini goat. I think it's called the Liquidator M22 or something like that. But anyway, I find the branding confusing on it because the House of Rags released a towel called the Goat. And then the rag company made a towel called, I think it's the Tank, which the goat was a 2200 GSM towel. And then a rag company released a 2200 GSM towel, and then they came out with the smaller version of it. But the big one's called the Tank, and this one's called like the M22 Liquidator, which doesn't make a lot of sense because the Liquidator is a different towel in their line that's actually like, I want to say it's like 1500 or no, because the 1500 is the 1500. So maybe it's like 1200, something like that. I know it's less. I have 2 Liquidators. This works well. I asked Jamie for a baby goat when they released the original goat, because I don't regularly wash and dry school buses, and I just found that towel was like way too big, way bigger than it needed to be. So this is a 20 by 20 version of the goat. Basically, if you're familiar with that towel, if you've used that towel, this feels like exactly that. It's got a very similar stitched border. It's the same GSM. I did measure it, and it was right at the 2200 that they say that it is. And if you're ever wondering how to measure them, GSM stands for grams per square meter. So if you weigh the towel when it's brand new, and then you do a calculation of how much of a square meter it is, in this case 20 by 20, I think was like right around a quarter of a square meter. I can't remember the exact math. Take the weight and divide it by that fraction, and this was within 50 GSM of 2200, which I would say, given the inconsistencies with rags, that percentage is pretty good. We're talking about like 1 or 2%. So, single 20 by 20 towel. I dried this entire car without using a blower or anything else. So, this is the one to make. I know House of Rags is coming out with one too. I would expect it's going to be similar quality, probably a little bit less cost. But I have a lot of rag company towels over the years, and they've been good to me. My House of Rags towels have also been good to me. I do find some of the House of Rags variants I like a little bit better, like the Mr. Twister. I like better than the FTW, for example. But for now, this is a pretty sweet drying towel. It's definitely heavy, but it feels to me like it could definitely pick up more. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to. Yeah, I can't even wring it out. So, super nice. I'll put a link into Amazon where you can get one of these. It's going to be time to refresh some of my towels soon. I have a lot of dead ones, or ones that are imperfect. I also have a lot of sizes that I don't use. So you're going to see a bunch of towels on secondhand detailing in the future. I'm kind of waiting for the House of Rags to come out with their next grouping of towels. The Diva rinseless dryer is pretty awesome. It's probably my favorite drying towel right now. And then, you know, obviously there have been other new towels as well that I've tried out here and there, from Auto Fiber, from House of Rags, from the Rag Company. OG is working on their 4.0 with the Rag Company, so there'll be some custom stuff coming out there. All right, so really today we tested 2 new products. First off was Rogue. So Rogue is a foaming soap, and boy does it foam. I would say it's really similar to Phoenix EOD Apex Auto Wash, and it's really similar to Incredible Suds from DIY Detail. At a 450 to 1 dilution coming out of my foam cannon, we saw very high amounts of foaming. And really the only soaps that I can think of that would do that are those two, or that would be, you know, close to that are those two. I know DIY Detail targets a 300 to 1. I think that they give a lot of range on the label, and I think that the amount of range they give on the label is honestly too much. I think that they should say, you know, 1 ounce in your foam cannon or 2 ounces in your foam cannon, something along those lines, and pick a number and stick with it. 1 to 4 is a really big range, and then depending on the foam cannon you use, you're going to get somewhere between a 1 to 10 and 1 to 15 on top of that, right? So, you know, if you're doing 1 ounce in 1,000 milliliters, it's like a 30 to 1. 4 ounces in 1,000 milliliters is like an 8 to 1. So when you've got a 30 to 1 times a 15 to 1 versus an 8 to 1 times a 10 to 1, like in one case we've got an 80 to 1 dilution hitting the panel. In the other case we've got a 450 to 1 dilution hitting the panel. It's just an insane amount of range. I don't think that you need that much on the label. It smells good, works well. It's nice and slick. You know, the coating is nice and slippery when I'm done with it. It says that it's pH neutral. I didn't test the pH neutralness of it, but I'm also not a chemist, and I really don't care if it's pH neutral. If it's somewhere between a 6 and a 9, I mean, if it's somewhere between a 5 and a 9, I'm fine with it. I used deionized water in my mixes. I used an MJJC foam cannon for a large portion of this. I used Griot's for a small portion of it. It does work very, very well. I feel it's an insane value. It's a really good value. I am not one for value products in general. I'm not the target audience of a value product. I tend to want the best, not the value. But it did perform very, very well. I could see myself using it and being happy with it. If you're using something like Incredible Suds, or if you're using Apex Auto Wash and you're looking to change it up, maybe you want a different scent, maybe you want to try something new, I think that's a good option for you. My video on Hot Coat, that was also a really surprising product, worked very well. I enjoyed that as a drying aid. So, you know, I would say the first 2 products that Quivr released are both honestly really good. Neither one of them are the best I've ever tested, right? Neither one of them are going to unseat a product that's already on my shelf in terms of like the best of the best. But I think that both of them are really solid products that you could be happy with. And I think if you're in the mobile detailing space, they both represent a really good value that you could then monetize in terms of, you know, cleaning your customer cars, having a good experience from a product that's very economical. You get that whole foam party thing so that the customer can look out the window and see their car covered in foam and think, oh, this is so cool. And, you know, the pictures on Instagram and all of that. But it also works, and it works well. So, like I said on my other video, I don't really have a relationship with Josh. These were bought. Well, I take that back. They weren't technically bought. There was a video that was done on the House of Rags for the release of these products. And during that, there was a giveaway of one of each, one of these and one of Hot Coat. And Becca won the giveaway, but she had already purchased both of the products. So she told them to send them to me so that I could review them and then, you know, send them on, if that makes sense. So she did me a solid. We've exchanged products back and forth quite a bit, the two of us. So I really appreciate her doing that. So these were not paid for by me, but they also weren't given to me like for free for testing or anything like that. They were just, you know, Becca gave them to me or Becca let me borrow them for as long as I need to. And then, of course, like I said, when I'm done with them, I'm going to send them on. I don't think they're products I'm going to rebuy, but I do think that they work very well. I don't really have a relationship with Josh or Josh's channel. You know, I know that it exists. I've watched a handful of videos, but you know, I don't know him or owe him anything or anything like that. I think they're a pretty solid line. I'm actually surprised that the first 2 products coming out of a brand new chemical line are as good as these are. They both work very well. So kudos to him for that. If it's a sign of things to come, I'm excited to see his next products. You know, they kind of remind me of Armor, you know, where Armor started off as like, these are a couple detailers that are making their own product line. And, you know, they had a couple really good products right out of the gate, and they've just improved over time, and we've seen additions like Hero and stuff like that. And I think that that's where this is going to go. The other thing that we tested was the Rag Company Mini Goat, or the Liquidator M22. Sorry, I've been calling it the Mini Goat for a while. Like I said, it's a 2200 GSM towel. I think it's a great size at 20 by 20. I'm excited for the House of Rags to come out with a couple other sizes too. I think they might do something even smaller, like a 12 by 12. It'd be really interesting to be able to wash and dry an entire SUV with a single 12 by 12 towel. I think that's super cool. And you know, for me, like I have a cabinet full of stuff. I want to be able to have that cabinet full and not have like piles and piles and piles of drying towels. I've got like 4 stacks of drying towels in there right now. And I've got some big ones, some small ones, and all kinds of different stuff. I'd like to just have like one size, you know, a 16 by 16 or a 12 by 12, like a very highly absorbent towel that I could just continuously use that same SKU over and over and over again. And then they won't take up a ton of space in the cabinet. They don't take up a ton of space in the hamper. And when you're, you know, drying them, obviously, or washing and drying them, you know, they wouldn't take up as much room in the washer and dryer as well. So I like the idea of smaller rags that are more absorbent, or smaller towels that are more absorbent. Up until this point, I've used the Gauntlet. 16 by 27 is kind of my favorite size in the Gauntlet. They do a 12 by 12. It's just not absorbent enough to do an entire car with it. A 16 by 27 honestly is if you go over it with a blower first. Otherwise, you end up needing 2 of them. I've used the regular Liquidator. I didn't love it. This I like a lot better. Right now, I would say my favorite drying towel is still the Diva rinseless dryer. I think that one's currently my favorite. It's light, it's a good size, and it works very, very well. I also like that it's purple. So I'm interested to see what comes out in the future. Like I said, I'm going to revamp some of my cabinet of rags and probably sell some stuff off on secondhand detailing. I have a couple goats. I have a you know, a couple Divas and some other towels that are on the larger size, and I don't really use them too often. So it's a long-winded way of saying all the stuff was great. I hope that you guys are having a great day. My Sunday is almost over. It's about 5 p.m. It looks like we're going to get a storm here. So, you know, until next week, thank you guys, and hope you have a great week.